Assalamu alaikum. I am Miss Suchiyaki and I'd like to review referencing with all of you for this week. I am sure you still remember about referencing, so I shall do a little recap reminding you on how to reference. First of all, why must we reference? The purpose of correct referencing is to acknowledge the work of others in order to avoid plagiarism. By using correct referencing, you are also showing that you have read about the topic. In other words, you know what you're talking about. And in addition, making your written work valid and credible, which means you did not simply make up or imagine those information. I'm emphasizing the word correct referencing here because it is really important that the style and manner you cite your work in is the correct style throughout your writing. Incorrect referencing style is considered plagiarism. Using a consistent format helps the reader to properly identify and locate the works you cited. It is also useful for you to be familiar with styles of referencing, as it will enable you to recognize which part of their citation should be entered for title search purposes. By now, you are aware that there are many styles of referencing used all over the world. At UBD and for LE2503, we are using the APA style of referencing, which stands for American Psychological Association. Therefore, all of the examples of referencing in this video is based on APA. In order to reference correctly, there are two aspects: in-text referencing and post-text reference, or better known as reference list. In-text reference within your text, you are expected to paraphrase and/or summarize an original source in order to include a citation or an in-text reference within your text. Remember, there are three ways to do a citation. Firstly, foreground reference, where you include the author's name in your sentence and the year must be in brackets or parentheses, as shown in the example below. Secondly, background reference, where the author's name is not included in your sentence and the year is in brackets or parentheses, again shown in the example below. Thirdly and last, direct quotation reference, where you take the original source as it is and place it in your written work, placing quotation marks around the source, indicating that you have copied the entire text from the original author. Do remember you must include author's last name and year and the page number. Here is an example shown of an in-text reference. Post-text citation, which is after your written work, or better known as reference list. Just to remind everyone, a post-text reference, or better known as reference list, must have these following details: last name of the author, initials of first and middle name, year published, title of the article, title of the book or source in italics, and of course the city that the text is printed. Also, please note that first line of each reference is on the left margin, but the subsequent lines are indented, creating a hanging indent. Secondly, the font is in Times New Roman. Thirdly, reference lists must be in alphabetical order by author. And lastly, every citation in your text must match or link to an entry in the reference list. Here is an example of how a reference list should look like. So looking at both in-text and post-text or reference list, the sources must match. Whatever source you used and mentioned in your in-text must be listed in your reference list accordingly, in alphabetical order and not by order of appearance in your in-text. Listing sources that you did not use or mention in in-text or vice versa is considered as plagiarism. Lastly, I would like to touch on using Malay and Chinese names on referencing. The APA Style Guide does not specify on how to reference Malay names. Therefore, there are several different styles used that can be seen. This is because Malay names do not include their family name. Instead, they use their father's name. All titles such as Haja, Haji, Bin, Binti, Datu, and so on should not be included. So as for the first option, if their name is Haja Enna Herni Binti Haji Wasli, then in both in-text and post-text, it should be cited as Enna Herni Wasli only. The second option is by following the Western style of the APA citation, which is last name first, followed by their initials. In both options, you still have to drop all titles that they have. An exception would be if the person is born with a title, an inherited title. For example, Awangku, Dayangku, Pangeran, Wan, Ampuan, Malai, Sharifah, and so on. In this case, you need to include these titles as it is inherited to them, making it part of their name. So if a person's name is Awangku Haji Muhammad bin Pangeran Haji Saleh, in citation it becomes Awangku Muhammad Pangeran Saleh. No matter which option you use for Malay names, either writing their full name without the titles or in the Western style, be sure that you are consistent with the Malay names throughout your paper and in the reference list. Just choose one option for Malay names and stick to it. Now on Chinese names. Chinese names are usually written out last name first, followed by their first name. For example, Du Wei Hua. Therefore, when citing, you should take Du. And for the reference list, Du, W, full stop, H, full stop. In the case where they have an English name usually written out, like Cassandra Chong Wei Shan, in this case, Cassandra is their first name, so you must take Chong as it's her last name, or rather it's her family name for the in-text. And in the reference list, Chong, C, full stop, W, full stop, S, full stop. To find out more on how to reference according to APA style, or you have a question, what do I do if I want to reference? Please refer to the APA Reference Guide Handbook, where you can find it on the LE2503 website. You need to go through the handout for all your referencing needs. But most importantly, when it comes to reference, you need to be consistent with your style, acknowledge and cite all information taken from the source. Do not leave referencing at the last minute to insert in your text. You need to include the references as you are searching and taking notes for your assignment, as you might forget, and forgetting is not an excuse to plagiarize. There are a couple more videos on referencing to help you understand further on how to reference. So please watch the supplementary videos, as it will guide you to a better understanding. So that is it from me on referencing. Until we meet again, best of luck and goodbye.